Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of The Growth Switch with me, Cyril. This being our latest episode on the series. In this series, we look to help you with tried and tested techniques, practical techniques that is, that can help you on your journey as you either look to forge ahead in your career or your studies, or you're just looking to develop yourself. So if you missed out on any other episodes, you can go to the website, cyrilmadiba.com, go to the Growth Switch tab, and you will find all the videos there. Alternatively, you can go to the YouTube channel directly, and the channel is The Growth Switch with Cyril, and all the videos you will find there as well. In this episode, we will be discussing about something really important, which is overcoming negative thinking or negative thoughts. We all have that voice within our heads which comes now and again and just starts speaking negatively about us, our situations, our environments, and we're going to speak about some ways how you can go ahead overcoming that, and it happens to the best of us, and we'll share some techniques about that. So what do we mean about this negative thinking, right? So I already mentioned there's this voice. When you want to do something, let's say you want to, apply for that role that you've always applied for, that you always want to apply for rather, and you basically qualify for it. But there's a voice that says, do you really qualify? What if you fail? What if it's not what you're looking for? What if you don't get selected as the candidate and you've wasted your time? So it's that kind of voice that's always trying to persuade you that you're not good enough. You should just relax, settled for what you've got already, and not be ambitious, in a sense. And all of us tend to have that kind of voice, right? And it depends in whatever situation, right? Particularly if you go in something new, that voice might come up even more, right? Let's say you want to venture into a new career path, right? You are now a teacher, right? And you want to go into data science or data analytics, and you want to study, go to university and study so that you have the technical, knowledge that will allow you to transition into being a data analyst. But then the voice says, "Who are you? You shouldn't think about those things. Stay here, and do what you're doing currently." So that voice can be detrimental, particularly if it wins always, because it means dreams not achieved. At times progress also not achieved, right? And growth, and the achievement of people's life visions, life goals. So let's speak about some 3 things that you can look to, put in. There are others, but we'll speak on these 3 that you can start to put in that should help you, to start to silence that voice or make it less loud. If you know what I'm saying. So the first thing is probably quite obvious, and it speaks to one's environment, right? So one's environment, when you speak about that, it's got like many elements. It could be, where you stay, the people you live with. It could be your friends that you hang around with. It could be your workplace as well. If your workplace is quite toxic and there's bullying and there's things like that, that doesn't make for a good environment. So what's important is ensuring that your environment is you are surrounded by people who don't have negative thoughts themselves, because then what happens is it feeds off, right? So if you always hang out with people, and each time you speak about your dreams, everyone is like, who you think you are, you're not gonna achieve that, why are you even bothering about that? Then it's something that starts to creep in, right? As much as we can build a resistance as people, at some point, if you are constantly in that kind of environment, then it starts to affect you. So if you can change that environment, obviously if the people in your inner circle you are able to somehow engage them and they're receptive to your comments, and together you're able to go on a journey, that's even better. But if you can't, then yeah, unfortunately you may have to change your circle, if it comes to that. Number two is all about self-awareness, right? So self-awareness, here I'm talking about things like, do you know who you really are, right? What are you good at? What you do well? What are your passions? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Do you know that? Because then what happens is when you're in an environment, or when that voice in your head comes and says you can't do this, but if you know that, hey, I can do this because I'm good at it, then that voice goes shush. For example, things like coaching people, being able to motivate them and things like that. It's something that I've been good at for quite some time. So if I come across a situation where I need to do that, either in a professional setting or otherwise, that little voice that tries and tells me, hey, you can't do this, needs to shut up, because I know that I'm good at it, right? Whereas, and I think I've made this example before in other videos, if it comes to a point where I need to get on the stage and sing, I don't have the talent, right, to sing. So it's not like that voice has won, but I know as well, so capabilities wise, that it's not there. So do you know what you're good at? Do you know what you're not good at, so that you can manage it? Remember, we said you focus on your strengths, and then you just manage your weaknesses so that they don't cripple you overall. So basically, you don't go to an environment where what you need to do is linked so much to your weaknesses, such that you pretty much set up for failure, right? So rather go to an environment where what you need to do utilizes your strengths, so that you are set up for success. And then the last one is to understand your triggers, right? So each one of us has triggers where if something happens, or if something happens, then it's bound to trigger like negative thoughts. Like okay, now I can't do this, or such and such do this, or whatever. For example, and this may be linked to the second point about being self-aware, right? So let's say you're at work, you've done splendidly on a project, you've delivered your best work here, right? But then your manager or your co-worker or someone at work makes some smart remark that you sucked, this is the worst performance on this project they've seen in years, or something like that, right? And then after that you then go, oh, what if they're right now? That voice now comes up, they are right, you suck, you didn't do well, Meanwhile, you know that you delivered the best work, So what I'm trying to say is here, understand your triggers, right? If you tend to get triggered by other people's comments, then learn to be more confident in your own abilities, and less triggered by their comments, right? Now, it's not to mean that you must ignore people's comments. Obviously, there will be people who are going to say, hey, Cyril, you did very well. Or your boss might say, hey, you did very well this project, by the way. I feel like you could have done even better if you pay attention to X, Y, Z, right? Now, your boss not talking away that you did great. It's just that the X, Y, Z, obviously, you probably didn't know how to do, or you never thought about it, or anything like that, just because of experience, maybe. We look at things different ways, depending on our experience and exposure. So that kind of feedback is more constructive, right? Versus you sucked or something like that. But what's important is your motivation and your drive comes from within. Because then if that's the case, then you are less likely to rely on outward motivation or outward gratification from people's comments praising you and stuff, for you to dispel those negative thoughts. Hoping this was useful, and if you did find it useful, please share with others who stand to gain. Remember to follow us on all socials, where we tend to share some info in between these videos. And overcome those negative thoughts.